But let's kick it off here at Madison Square Garden, right to the main event. You got Terence Crawford, WBO world titleist, one of the top pound for pound guys on the planet. He's a minus 1,700 favorite over Amir Khan. Khan, a tested veteran at plus 1,100. The over/under is at 9.5, with the over at plus 170 and the under at minus 200. What do you see there? Any chinks in this armor?
It's an interesting matchup, and I know we've talked about this before, where you tend to favor Terence Crawford as pound for pound number one in the world, and it's hard to argue against that with Lomachenko having less fights and one loss. That's Salido. And I favor Lomachenko since about his sixth fight. I thought he was destined to be pound for pound, and I think we're talking about long-term legacy. But Terence Bud Crawford is amazing. The only reason I don't quite put him at first is I think he's got some matchup issues with certain people that maybe can be exploited, whereas I think Lomachenko can adjust to each individual person. And you and I talked about this last week. Will they ever meet? Crawford used to fight at 135, but he's bulked up since then. 135 is probably the top that Loma's going to perform at his best. So we'll never get a true fight on that one. We'll have to look at the rest of it. On this fight in particular, Amir Khan, this is a game opponent, 33-4, 3 knockouts. The over on this at 9.5 is plus 170. I'm going to pick the over, and the reason being is Amir Khan, it's interesting. I mean, he lost in the first round to Bradis Prescott, split decision to Lamont Peterson, who retired 2 weeks ago. Danny Garcia, TKO in 4, and Canelo Alvarez in 6. So all that would suggest it's under 9.5. But when you look at Terence Crawford, Bradis Prescott, he did beat him, unanimous decision. His last fight was Jose Benavidez, TKO in 12, Jeff Horn, TKO in 9, Victor Postal, unanimous decision, and Raimundo Beltran, also unanimous decision. So Terence hasn't been knocking out the name known opponents. So it's sort of an interesting who's gonna stay true to form. Is Amir gonna get knocked out early by a known opponent, or is Terence Crawford gonna take his time and be measured and maybe not knock out Amir right off the bat? So straight up pick Crawford, KO in 6, but I'm going to dog watch Khan. That plus 1,100 is just too good to pass up for $100 risk. Get $1,200 back. I'm going to go ahead and pick it, although it's hard to figure out a way that Amir's going to win this thing. Terence definitely has to have an off night, and Amir has to be explosive. But he's fighting for, I believe, his career. I think if Amir loses, it's to the booth to call fights and no more fighting. If he wins, he's definitely got more big paydays ahead of him. So he's got a lot of fight for, and Terence has legacy to fight for. So, yeah, what are you feeling on this one?
Well, as you stated, I'm a Crawford fan, and I'm not at the point, like, I credit Amir Khan about what he deserves, and I think Amir Khan is the number one presence in social media in the boxing world. And Amir Khan is very good at telling you how good Amir Khan is, and Amir Khan's people are very good at telling you how good they are. And if you remember, now, granted, against Saul Canelo Alvarez, he was ahead on the cards because he was outboxing Canelo, who was sitting back looking for the one punch. So you can always fall back and say, I was outboxing Canelo until I got caught. But I think that's a little bit of a little bit of smoke and mirrors that they're playing there, because Canelo chose to counterpunch in that fight, and all he needed was one punch, right? So,
and he probably knew that, yeah.
But so he was doing well in that fight, so that backed up the pre-fight rhetoric, which was that he was going to be strong at 160 pounds, and then he talked a great game, and that's what he's doing again this time. So,
it isn't now Canelo Alvarez maybe the third guy in the talk with Terence Crawford, Lomachenko, and then Canelo? Some folks talk about pound for pound. I think he's had a couple of questionable fights against Triple G, so pound for pound is yet to be seen for me with Canelo. But you can make that argument, right? Amir was beating him, right?
Yeah, but the point is that the reason I bring it up though is because Amir talked a good game before that fight, and because you could use semantics to back up that talk, he didn't really look bad. And he doesn't have to say, oh yeah. So he's doing the same thing here, talking a really good game against another guy, saying, hey, my hand speed, yeah, we'll see what your hand speed looks like on this side of 30. We haven't seen you on this side of 30. He's a silver medalist, not a gold medalist. It was funny. There were a few memes of stuff of him making fun of Crawford beating. I think it was Yuriorkis Gamboa. Gamboa, he called him a dwarf, and I find that interesting. But that dwarf is a gold medalist, Amir. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
if you want pecking order, you're a silver medalist. You fell short with Canelo. You got your career derailed by Bradis Prescott at the very beginning, and every other fight that we haven't talked about of yours that you've lost, you've been twitching on the floor. So it's not something that we've seen that pattern change greatly when he faces a guy much better than him. And I think Crawford is much better, and Crawford is embarrassed and disposed of 2 gold medalists, if you count Felix Diaz as well, who is a gold medalist. And I mean, when he's got the gold medalist trapped in the corner and he gets to do like this on the top of his head, he's dominating this guy. And those are gold medalists, not those silver medalists. Not that means, all that much, but there are levels in boxing, and Amir loves to claim that top level. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I'm sure, is he an A minus? He's up there. But there are other fights that he may have to face in the future, Kell Brook being one of them, where, is his technique stack up with Kell Brook? I don't know. He himself has said that Crawford's a better matchup for him than Brook. So we'll see how he does. But he's coming to a knife fight against, or he's coming to a machine gun fight with a knife if he thinks he's going to out-technique Crawford. I don't see how that works out, especially in the States, especially on the judges' cards. If it does go all the way, there's no way he's going to get a decision. I just can't see him doing enough to win rounds against a guy like Crawford. So
mine is a tentative dog watch. I mean, I think he should be maybe a plus 600 or a plus 700. And so if he was a plus 500, I probably wouldn't pick him. But at a plus 1100, I do think if you give him 11 shots at Terence Crawford, he figures out a way to beat him. So in that regard, in a pot odds sort of way for poker terms, it's a good bet. I do not expect him to win, but I think plus 1100 is just a little bit high, and I'd have to take that just in case. It's just too good of a bet.
One last factor before we move on. Crawford in the States, Khan, obviously from England. Khan may travel some people. There may be some local there, and there may be money that comes in on Khan from his British backing and from his, ethnic backing. So those odds may change here before the end of the week, and we'll look at that for you here.
So in other words, you'd want to get him now if you're gonna bet on Khan. You want to get him now while the odds are higher before those British folks come over and land and start betting in what I get. The fight's in New York, so they have to bet in New Jersey or something like that, across the river, I guess. But get him before the Khan fans get here if you're going to bet for Khan. Absolutely, good point, Miguel.
Yeah, you'll certainly want to keep that in mind. At least have it under consideration that Khan money may come in from Brits and from he has a Muslim ethnic backing as well. So those odds may narrow, and that may all be due to popularity and social media popularity and not true numbers.